Okay, so for me, Brian, I'm going to go. We'll start backwards. We will start with Rampage. That'll
Yes.
be last because that they have made that show skippable. Rampage.
Yes.
It's not saying that Rampage hasn't had good shows, but the thing is, like, you have to find out through social media first what's going on Rampage. Oh, you should have saw this singles match or this tag team match. Okay, I'll go back and watch it.
Sure.
But watching it live on a Friday night is very difficult. So I'm going Rampage last. I'll move up to a TNA Impact
Okay.
because I think that at times, again, kind of like word of mouth, or if you are DVRing it like me, I'm watching TNA Impact. I think that they've done a good job since January. Again, whatever the perception is of the television outlet that they're on, I think that Impact's doing good work. From there, it's a Saturday Night Collision for AEW. Collision, whether it's at the end or the beginning, it's always a really solid match.
Right.
The middle kind of reminds you of wrestling in the '90s, preliminary matches, getting people over.
You get jobbers there. I mean, where else do we see that? You get the local talent. Like, hey, here's this guy from nearby. And yeah, I love that guy.
Usually, that's the biggest pops of the night on
Right.
Collision. Somebody that I don't know, but the audience knows.
Right, exactly. Like, hey, I've seen him before.
Number 3 for me is Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw, it's not bad like it used to be because you've got interesting stories that's going along there. It moves quickly for the 3 hours. Dynamite is number 2 on my list, and number 1 is SmackDown. And I think the reason why that SmackDown's number 1 on my list, Brian, is because the Bloodline's there. And I know that at some point it's going to be Roman. We see Cody on that show. So I think there's a little bit more sizzle on SmackDown for me as the show that I've got to DVR or watch.
I think that's pretty fair. For me, Rampage also is last. I have NXT in that 5 spot. Impact, TNA, whatever you want to call them. That's one of those shows when I see stuff on social, like, oh, maybe I want to watch that. I don't know where to find them, so I can't put them on this list. Like, I couldn't easily pull up right now, like, hey, let's watch Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
I'll watch some of the pay-per-views on Fight and Triller, whatever you want to call it, because I know how to get to that, but that's it. So I have them at 5. Collision is 4 for me right now, and that's dropped a lot. Like, it used to be so much better. The last couple months, some of those shows have become skippable because, like you said, it's open, it's end, and then just a lot of whatever in between. I have Raw at 3, SmackDown 2. To me, Dynamite is still number 1. And especially the run they're on right now, like from a pure wrestling standpoint, which is why I'm watching, you got an hour main event quality match last night on free television, and you get so many of those matches week in and week out. They've gotten better at telling their stories and setting up their pay-per-views. To me, Dynamite is still absolutely must-watch, whereas Raw, while it's number 2, I'm sorry, SmackDown's number 2, there still are spots that you can just skip through because the WWE way means you're going to see it multiple times over the next few weeks.
Yeah. So as far as Dynamite is concerned, Dynamite has just absolutely been on fire. Here's the thing about professional wrestling that we don't talk enough about, Brian. Look, wrestling does not necessarily have to be one way. However, if you're a younger wrestling fan, you feel like the WWE way, the Vince way, is the right way to present professional wrestling. And if you just watch WWE and you see AEW or see New Japan or you see the TNA, it's kind of like, well, that's foreign to you. That it's for some fans, that's the wrong way to be able to present wrestling. For someone that's watched wrestling for a long time and different styles of wrestling, from World Class in Texas was different from the NWA Carolina style, which was different from the Midwest style in Chicago with Dick the Bruiser, which was different than the Sheik in Detroit, which is different from, everywhere else around the country, right? The WWF style, which was a style of big men plotting, I'm going to get you in the garden, George the Animal Steel, that kind of stuff, right? So every style is different. But I would just say that, even if you are not the biggest AEW fan, you cannot deny that these men and women are busting their ass.
Oh, yeah.
That matchup that we saw on Wednesday night from Little Rock, watching MJF in that matchup against Will Ospreay, I mean, after you get through the 30-minute mark, it's like, is this going to be a draw?
Right.
And then you watch it and just watch the ebb and flow of it, and there's 2 seconds left, and MJF wins the international championship. It pissed the crowd off. It's almost like they were more accepting of the draw than MJF coming away with the victory.